Okay, it looks like we had a few more people pop in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Is that good with you, Dawn?
That's perfect.
Awesome. Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our very first edition of the Industry Insider through Google Hangout on Air. So thank you all so much for your patience, over the last couple of minutes, and hopefully it won't require too much patience over the next hour with us as we work through any potential technical difficulties as we go into this very first one. But we're very excited that you're joining us today, and I am personally very excited to have you all get to meet and spend a little bit more time online with Dawn because she definitely will be an amazing resource for you. So just wanted to give you a few quick notes. We will be sending a quick survey afterwards to get your feedback and opinions. We do plan on doing one of these every other week throughout the year, excluding the summer months. So we definitely want any feedback that we have from you all so we can improve the program moving forward. Secondly, I wanted to let you know you are able to submit your questions through the Q&A portion. You'll actually physically type your questions in and send them to us. We do not have access to anyone's cameras or microphones through this. Just Dawn and myself are the only ones that will have access to that. But in order to ask a question, if you look at your screen on the upper right-hand side, there is a box of 4 squares in the shape of a square. And if you hover over that, you should see something that says Q&A. And if you click on that, you can actually type your questions in, and they will send them to me. And then in the later portion of the program, I will ask Dawn those questions, and hopefully we can get everyone to respond in that manner. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Dawn Reed. Dawn is the event director for the Seminole Hard Rock Winterfest Boat Parade and Winterfest Inc. And rather than give you her bio, I'm going to let her give you some background on Winterfest and on herself and in her career. So, Dawn, go ahead and take it over.
Thank you, Suzanne. Well, welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. And again, this is our first time, not just through FFEA, but our first time doing this at all. So cutting edge, a little techie, that a little challenging, but a cool hangout opportunity for everyone. So I have been with Winterfest for 21 years, so I have a dream job. Winterfest is the 7th largest one-day spectator event in the country. We're a boat parade, for those who don't know. We're the 7th, or the largest single event viewership audience in the state of Florida. So we've come a long way. We're 44 years old in 2015. So we have partnered up with the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino when they opened. We're on year 11 as partners. So from an event in the humble beginnings of just a few boats and mom and pop decorating their boat for the holidays as we started back in the early 70s, as they say, we've come a long way, baby. We have a television show that is aired with Channel 7 and also Fox Sports Net. So we're so lucky to do what we do and have the goodwill of an amazing community that supports us. I personally grew up here and grew up watching this parade, so a family tradition. That's, I think, my favorite part of all of this is working with a company that has such a great impact, puts so many smiles on so many faces from across the globe. People come back year after they move away. If they grew up here, they'll come back and visit and plan their visits for the holidays around the boat parade. So we get all those great calls, and it's neat working for a company that no matter who you call, they don't know you, but they want to talk to you. They're excited to talk to you. And I think this industry, there's so many great events, and there's so much of that goes around, but I think some of the smaller events, maybe you don't hear those stories, but getting into the event industry, there's so much growth and there's so much opportunity, and there's so many different niche markets as you're looking to see what you want to do, whether you're new in the industry or you're a student, and I know we have a little combo of that on this today. So just wanted to speak a little bit to my experience, and one of the questions that I get a lot is, how did you get your job? I volunteered. That's how I got my job. I was in between jobs. I wasn't happy just looking to make a dollar amount, and I swore I would not do another job that was all about the money, because I wanted to enjoy it. You spend so much time where you are in the work environment, so you want to love it. And I truly, truly, truly love every minute of every day. I'm so blessed to have this position, and we have a huge staff of 3. We rely on a huge contingent of volunteers, so I would tell anybody to look around, see what you want to do, test the waters, volunteer first. And there's plenty of opportunity to volunteer after hours. It doesn't have to affect your current job or your daytime job or your class schedule, but get your toes wet, you know. Take a little tiptoe in, do it with a friend, volunteer first, then maybe get on a committee. But there's so many ways to get involved in this great industry that, you know, we're fostering. And the younger people have a great opportunity, because I think we've paved the way, and there's so much more with special events, with the colleges offering that as a degree now, and that didn't always happen. And there's so many different facets of where you can go with it. Winterfest, you know, once upon a time back in the early 90s, wasn't going to exist anymore. So I was lucky enough to be able to come in at that time, where we had a staff of 25 and it went down to 2. So it revived itself organically, and getting back to basics, and just sticking to what we knew, and doing the boat parade and not trying to do all the other events. And, you know, that organic start back in '91 was the first time that the parade made money, and we still only have, all these years later, a staff of 3. So that tells you, you know, that was the right thing to do, the right way to go about it. We do about 13 events now, running from a public event open to the public free, to, you know, private events for 1,000 people in a black tie ball scenario. So it really gives a great opportunity to see all of it. You know, we're a family-oriented event, but we need those private parties to fund us. You know, there's so many different aspects of event world, from a not-for-profit to a for-profit to, if you're, you know, a public event, free, but all the things that go with that, and all the logistics. And it all ties back into just doing a great job and having the respect and support of your community. And I think that's how Winterfest has really come so far along, is that we do have the respect, and we have the longevity. You know, a lot of people don't know that that happened in the early 90s, but we built our way back up, and, you know, we're solid, and we stick to what we know, and we don't leave the path that leaves us open to vulnerability anymore, and not have, you know, sound bank accounts and whatnot. So it's great to start from the bottom and the beginning of an event too, and see it grow, and be able to say 20 years later, look where we've come from. And, you know, it keeps you humble, and, you know, it keeps you reinventing and trying to make new ideas within the event, and new opportunities within the same event, bringing in your corporate partners and whatnot.
So, Dawn, you mentioned that you actually started out over 20 years ago with Winterfest as a volunteer. Tell us about how your role with Winterfest kind of evolved over the last 20 years.
So I came in volunteering doing, and 20-some years ago is when computers were just really getting to know. I know the younger generation has no idea. I mean, we literally started on a single computer. It was a Word Perfect. So I literally had to learn the computer. That's how I got my job. When I was volunteering to do a data input, it was for one segment of the parade, and then so there was this, they had just hired an executive director, and she says, I don't have time to teach you the computer, you have to teach it yourself. So that was a challenge, and I did it, and I wanted this job, and I love it. So the volunteer aspect shows that you're willing to do it for free, and then, you know, the bonus was the position.
Very good. And what would you say in your career are some of your biggest, what do you consider your biggest successes in your career?
Well, I think, everything's a team effort, so it's hard for me, I guess I don't compartmentalize everything. All the accomplishments here have been done together. And it's not just our team of three, it's our board of directors. So we're governed by a board of directors, a large board of directors. We have a board of 50. And then we committee a few things, but we are very, very staff driven. So I think the successes are um, our very first title sponsor was Bell South and Singular Wireless, and they was the first time they ever had all their entities, 8 different entities, come together and support a single event. So that was unprecedented, and we signed, I think, a 3-year contract at the time. That got renewed, and as Singular Wireless, I think it was Bell South Mobility, then Singular, everything with the companies when the corporate world, is evolving. So they brought in, a phone carrier. So we were that for 8 years, and that paved the way for us, for a Hard Rock to come on board and, really, really support us. And it changed our lives, it changed our world, and we had the ability to do some things that we never thought would be possible. So the accomplishments, I think, are just, it's a team effort, and to be where we are today and have the respect. I mean, the respect to the community is so important, and we feel it every day.
Wonderful. How about a challenge that you faced or adversity that you've overcome in your career that you think, however you handled it or dealt with, that you think would be useful to someone who may be new to the event industry?
Well, I don't know if I would consider it so much as an adverse, but I have 3 kids, and I've worked all along, and I think entering into any career path, this may serve you well. I was a little ahead of my time then, but I came up with a work schedule that was part-time, but I still did the full-time job. I had the flexibility of working a 3 full day and 1 partial day, and really that was around my mother-in-law's schedule. So with the kids, and they've been a part of this every minute. I didn't go to work full-time until my youngest, who's currently 15, started middle school. So that whole schedule worked. I mean, I worked more in our few months of being really, really busy. I obviously changed that up, but I think that there's so much flexibility in the workplace these days if you're just have the wherewithal to really sit down and think about what you need and what works best for you, where you're still getting the job done. I'm the only one that does my job, so we're a team here and everybody does a little bit of everything, but if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, nobody does it. So that's not an option, but I think that I've always said I had the best of both worlds. I got to do the mom thing, I got to be involved in their schools, and I still am. I think there's a lot out there that you can do for the business, but do for yourself too, and that's, I think, what makes the happy life, where you have it all, and you can do it all.
Well, and what I thought was awesome was when we did the behind-the-scenes tour of Winterfest last month, your boys were there. They were working, they were volunteering, they knew the ins and outs, and I thought it was awesome to see that they really kind of had the same passion for the business and the event that you had. And so is that something that just kind of naturally came and evolved with them, or do you see them, kind of continuing along the same path that you've been on?
It's funny that you should mention that, because we had a board meeting last night, and that was discussed. So they have done nothing, their whole lives have been Winterfest, so they know nothing else. I can remember my youngest, who's the 15-year-old, I have a 20-year-old, 18-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and the youngest once upon a time was being pulled in a wagon at the grandstands. But when you're doing a big event like we do, and anybody going into that, it is a family affair. Not only do my kids volunteer, all their friends volunteer, and not only do they volunteer once, they come back every year and volunteer. I have a son in college who's the one that you met, and he's a junior, and he's public administration, but he did pick up a minor in hospitality. So I think it was discussed last night of how amazing he is and how much he knows about the event. And if anybody could take my job, it would be him. Um, so I do see that as a continuing, and that their friends have gone into hospitality. There's 3 or 4 of his friends that have volunteered with us over the years that have gone into hospitality because of it. They see, it's amazing when people are volunteering for you for 9 hours, literally 9 hours. And, sometimes breaks, sometimes not. You get caught up in things and sometimes you're not able to do it. And they're leaving thanking me. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. People really do. When they're there for the right reasons, it just does your heart so, so good. And, they're begging to come back every year. So we are so, so fortunate to have that. I don't have any other experience, but I have to think that there's a lot of organizations that have the same experiences that we do, or I hope they do. And if they don't, then something should be changing, because I love that people want to do what we do and help us just for the good of doing it and being a part of it.
That's wonderful. And it really was evident from everyone that we met in that tour, volunteers, board members, sponsors. So you and your team are definitely to be congratulated, as well as your volunteer committees as well. What would you, if you could give advice to students or young professionals in our industry as far as getting their start, getting their foot in the door, what would you tell them?
So I said before, volunteering, and I really do think that is the core. I mean, to graduate high school, everyone has to have volunteer hours. Well, so clearly that is, it's a path of goodwill, and to live your life and going into an industry like this, there's so many other events. And before I had kids and being in the events, I volunteered at a lot of events. There's twofold there. So you want to be a part of something. You want to see how other people do things. And, it's finding out best practices, and maybe something it gives you that pat on the back, saying something you're doing really well because you're seeing it, something maybe not so well executed, or you're learning, taking some ideas away and using them in your own work life. But I really do feel like volunteering is pivotal, and it gives you an opportunity without risk, without a job jeopardy, but you get to learn about the team, you get to meet the people, because sometimes it's not a right fit, and you want the right fit. Your first job is not going to be your last job, but you also want to make sure that when you go somewhere, you're there for a reasonable amount of time, especially in your starting early days of your career. You want to stay somewhere, and you may not be in love with it, but you want to give it the time, because you want it on your resume. So you want to stay there 1.5 years, 2 years, if possible. Titles are really important. We hear the big jokes, a big title doesn't come with the money, but when you are able to jump a title within an organization, that helps you for your next job search, because you've stepped up a level, hopefully, and it wasn't a lateral, but that'll help you in the future, because it's all about that. It's all about experience. Everyone wants experience, and I know the younger generation has seen that as they're graduating school and stuff. People want, when you're, it's the degree, but they want experience as well. So it doesn't say job experience or paid experience, it says experience. So there's a lot of things that you can do in a volunteer capacity to serve some of that experience need. So I just look around and see, there's parks or cities, that may have some opportunities to experience a little bit about what they do without having to be paid for it.
That's a great point. And speaking of experience, we talk at FFEA and specifically in our Education Emerging Leaders Committee about internships and what we can do as an organization to, foster the communication between organizations that may need interns and students that actually may just want one or need one in order to graduate. And I know, Dawn, that you utilize interns and rely on interns. Can you talk to us about, for students who are looking for internships, what are some of the things, the qualities that you look for from potential interns when you're interviewing and hiring?
I love this subject, as you know, so it is one of my favorites. We've been working with interns for about 17 years now, and the success rate for our interns getting jobs when they're done with us is 100% of those looking. So we're so proud of it, and with that comes challenges as well. Not everybody has the same skill sets. So when we're interviewing, and we've just recently in the last 2 years gone from a single intern in the fall to 3 interns. So because they're still in school, working around that schedule, so it's a 2 to 3 day work week for them, and it's been a great success, and that will be the model that we continue. So some of the things that we're looking for, I know everyone that comes into interview the question is, how are you on the computer? And everyone says, I'm great, which isn't always true. So I really would suggest knowing, and if you need to take an extra course, because I do find it lacking consistently in a business model of office protocol, and you can find anything on the internet these days, of just general office. We're not saving lives here. We're not a law office. We're a parade. So a light-hearted atmosphere, but lots and lots of business gets done working on literally 13 events simultaneously. So we want someone that's got some personality. If you're going into the event field, that's what you need. And you need to, one of my favorites, I think, is just having our interns step outside their box and us pushing them outside of their comfort zone. I think all of us, no matter how old you are, stepping outside of your comfort zone is what we all should do, just a little bit. And then maybe more, because you realize maybe you're good at something you didn't know you were good at. You were maybe a little timid to try something, and you do it, and it's, amazing. So it feels good just in general, not so much just, coming right out of school, but you want to be a team player. You want to offer input and have opinions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's a lot of it, and it takes a while to get comfortable. You're doing something new, and the first day you're looking around and don't know where you fit or how you fit, but that's why the internships, I think, are so productive on both sides.
Awesome, very cool. Well, I have just a couple more questions for you, but before I move on to those, I just want to remind everyone that if you have any questions for Dawn related to Winterfest or her personally or anything like that, make sure you just use the Q&A portion to submit your questions, because we'll be asking her those next. So Dawn, I've known you for a little while now, and I think even in the last 30 minutes that those who are watching can tell that you're very passionate about what it is that you do and your career path. But I'm still going to ask the question, even though I'm pretty sure I know the answer. If you could change something in your career path, what would it be?
I've thought about this, and I don't have an answer, because my answer is nothing. I think everything that happens for the right reasons, and I truly, truly love every minute of every day. I am so lucky to do what I do, and to have grown up with this event and known that I personally have had an impact on the millions of people that see it. And I can look at a boat and say, I did that one, and see all the events come together. There's just no greater gift than that, and doing what we all do or are striving to do, the finished product, and to see that again and again from my personal perspective, but then to hear the community. It's not, you're in an office job, nobody's coming up and saying, hey, that paper looked great, you did a great job typing that up. For us, we get the accolades about something that we are so, so proud of, and proud to be a part of, and that we put smiles on millions of faces is just the ultimate gift and bonus. So, there are jobs like this out there, and there's many of them. So I just really would encourage all of you to seek out that passionate, proud, accomplished event that you can really make a difference with.
Very cool. Thank you, Dawn. I have a question from a viewer here, and they want to know, you mentioned that you work on 13 events simultaneously. Can you talk about some of the other events above and beyond the boat parade that you do?
Okay, so the boat parade is our our Mac Daddy. So everything else leads up to that or some way, somehow fundraises for it. So we start our year with a kickoff party that is for our sponsors and our partners, and that's a white party. We have about 500 people at this event, so it's by invitation only. This is a 7-year-old event with us. We created it for a sponsor specifically, but we wanted to create something that was going to be the it party that everybody wanted to be a part of, but couldn't unless they sponsored us or were some way, somehow a part. So mission accomplished. We had the largest guest list this year with over 600. You know, in the event industry, when you got big numbers, you lose 10% right off the bat. And the higher the number, the percentage goes up. So we ended up with a final guest count of about 530 guests. So that was our largest to date. Then we do a family fun day, so that's a free public event. The city of Fort Lauderdale was working on an inaugural, they're doing across the country called Open Streets, and that is just closing some streets, some main thoroughfares down and maybe in a downtown area, and having people encouraging a healthier lifestyle, so biking and walking and taking back the streets. They asked if they could partner with us because our event was established. Hugely successful, and gosh, I mean, we're regrouping in a couple of weeks, so their first take is that the most hustle and bustle of any of it was where we were. So they're going to shorten up that streetscape and do it really primarily with us in our particular area. So what was neat about that is we've been doing this event for about 12 years, but a lot of people in the city, you know, from the city manager, didn't really know what we did here, and to see the success of it, so it gave some great credibility. You know, I keep using that word. The credibility is so important, and you know, from your sponsorships and anything else that you need, you want that respect, and that all comes with that. So they're looking, you know, partnering with us again. So that's completely free. There's no charge for anything that day. We partner with the local sports teams. We're lucky, there's a lot of them here. We partner with all of them except for one. So we create this amazing event, this fun day, and we spend minimal on it because everybody else brings out the assets. So you look around your room and look around your neighborhood and look around your city and see who you can partner with that has cool assets that they can bring out and will cost you nothing. So it was a 4-hour event with 3,000 people probably, just coming, and all our partners activating and giving things away for free and activities, and so very, very proud of that event. We also have I know I'm going to miss a few, we do a shoreline decorating event, which is a company sponsors it, and it's a cruise. So they have a party for their industry, it's their holiday party, and for us it serves as a fundraiser. So we're organizing this party for them, and we're going along the shoreline to see the backdrop and all the lit houses getting ready for the parade, because they all have big parties the night of the parade. We also have a black tie ball. So again, looking around our city and our neighborhood, and we partner up with Broadway. So we were able to bring in leads from Broadway from a show that's currently on Broadway, Motown, with their assistance, of course, and partnered up completely and themed our event for them. So again, getting that cool wow factor just by partnering with someone. So we have about close to 1,000 people at that event, so it's pretty big, and it's too big for a ballroom at this point, and we've taken over Hard Rock Live, so it's the concert venue, but you wouldn't even recognize it if you saw it. You can look on our website for some neat pictures. But that's our biggest fundraiser outside of sponsorship for an event. We also have a Grand Marshal reception, so every parade has a Grand Marshal. So we welcome our Grand Marshal and other celebrities the night before the boat parade, and our county mayor gives a key to the county, and our city mayor gives a key to the city, and you know, some other worthy accolades and tokens. So that again is by invitation only. And the reason we do things like that by invitation only, it's people want to come and they want to know how they get to come. Well, you sponsor. So it drives sponsorship. People want to go. So how do I get involved? How can I sponsor? So it while the party's happening, people are looking at it in a way of, I want to be there too. So, that's always in the forefront. Sponsorship is our lifeblood. We do our grandstand viewing area the day of the parade. So we have about 6,000 people in that area. And again, that's all sponsorship opportunities. So, fundraising while selling tickets and selling seats. And that same day, we have a VIP area for about 500, similar to the White Party and the Grand Marshal by way of sponsors, invitation only. And also, out of the 100 boats in the parade, we do turnkey boats in the office. So that's another thing that I work on. And we did 16 turnkey boats this year. So again, that's the event part of it. It's the big show boats from 170 feet on down to maybe an 80-foot yacht that we do soup to nuts. So another revenue stream, quality control. There's so many reasons to do things like that on your own. We also have a winners award ceremony coming up in February. So that is everybody that participates in the parade is invited. The winners are recognized by the way of plaques and awards, but we want everybody to come and know that we appreciate them. Without their time and energy on their own boats, we wouldn't have the parade that we do. We have a volunteer party because we work with about 350 volunteers on an annual basis, helping us get across the finish line for each of our events. So we thank them at a cocktail party or reception. We have students and underage, so it's open to all of them. They're all invited. We create a Spirit of Volunteerism Award named after a wonderful woman who her picture sits on my desk to this day, who passed away a number of years ago, but she was in our office until she was 75, I want to say. We always said we would push her in a wheelchair into the office, that she would be here until she couldn't be here anymore, and that's exactly what happened. We're so blessed with the people wanting to volunteer. Then some of the other things that we do outside of this is to expand our calendar. So we have a year-round calendar. We sanction events as well. So what that means is, there's a St. Patrick's Day in Fort Lauderdale, a parade and festival. We sanction that, and what that means is that we include them in all our collateral pieces. So they get to be a part of our $3 million ad campaign, and all we ask for is reciprocity. So they are going to list us on their collateral, so it helps you get the word out to more people. And we have I think we're at about 10 sanctioned events, but community events. So, we almost go year-round in that respect. We've just got a few months of downtime, but we're very fortunate. But that's a great way to expand your calendar and make things a little bigger, where you're not producing and don't have liability, but you're still a part of community events going on year-round.
So with all those events that you have going, Angel wants to know, how do you juggle all 13 of your events while still maintaining your personal and family life?
So we're lucky because the bulk of our events are in in December. So we work late when we need to, but we're a Monday through Friday organization for the most part. We're invited to a lot of things. We serve on a lot of committees, on different boards and whatnot, but there's no obligation, I think, on a daily basis that we're able to. I do exactly that. I'm at every baseball game, and I'm at every engineering. I'm at every single thing for my kids that I need to be at, or should be at, or want to be at. I don't miss any of it.
Very good. I don't have any other questions popping in. I'll encourage everyone, if you do have questions, to still go submit them, and we'll wait a few more minutes. But while they're doing that, Dawn, if we do have any more pop in, any other advice that you have for people that that may be watching online that are just starting out in their career or considering getting into the industry?
I just think that we all, I hear so many in the corporate world of, different people that we work with that just aren't happy. And, it's a necessity to work, but we want to love what we do. And I think that's the pie in the sky. People feel like that it's not out there, but it is. And sometimes even in the environment, maybe there's a suggestion that you have that could change something to make it so positive and really change a negative. And sometimes people aren't aware of maybe actions that they take or things that they say. And I'm a firm believer in this. And I don't think I've really ever suffered for it, but you find a nice way to bring something to someone's attention if it's offensive. Don't leave your job. Think about how you can work it in it. Early at Winterfest, so my first person that hired me, she left, was swooped up by the Sun Sentinel within the first year, and so we had someone here that there was only two of us. Just didn't I didn't love her at all. It was very hard for me because I loved my job, so I was going to do and suck it up and do whatever I needed to do. One person can change your life in not a good way and make your amazing life in an organization suffer a little bit. So, we worked through those hurdles, and I actually left here for 2 years, and she was gone, and my best story ever is that I've been back, all these years and doing what I love, and it didn't stop it. So I just think that do what you love, and if the environment isn't suitable for something that you love, figure out if you can fix it.
That's
Don't
great.
give up on it.
Kind of ironic. It's I don't know if you can see behind me, but the one piece on my wall, it says, do what you love what you do. And it's kind of my mantra as well, too. So it's cool to hear that that's yours.
Yeah.
I had another question come in. What is Winterfest's relationship with the city? Does the city of Fort Lauderdale permit the boat parade? Does the city sponsor? Do they play an additional role on the committee? What's your relationship with them?
Gosh, we have such an amazing relationship. I just mentioned that we had a board meeting last night. So not only the director of Parks and Recreation sits on our board, and he's a great, great ally. We have a great relationship with the city manager and our mayor. Our mayor is an advisory member on our board. He comes to every board meeting, and he has the nicest things to say. We bring one thing I did not touch on. We have an economic impact to this area of $48 million. There's not another night on any other day of the year that every restaurant along a 12-mile stretch is sold out. Every hotel is sold out. Publix Deli has said and confirmed that we are the busiest night of their year, bar none. So New Year's Eve and Christmas and Thanksgiving, the boat parade is their busiest night of the year. Every charter boat is chartered. On any other night of the year, all those things coming into play at the same time don't happen. So there's so many great things that Winterfest does for the city with our giant staff of 3 and our board of 50 and our interns. We have a love relationship with the city, and they do sponsor a little, a very small amount, but when we need something, we get it. If they're looking to do more with us, this Open Streets was the first time we worked together and met a lot of new people in the city that hasn't, departments we haven't touched before. So a great relationship, and they do have to permit our outdoor event. There's an outdoor event application, so we do put that out there. The Coast Guard is actually the one that permits us on the water. So we employ 20% of the entire police department for details for that night. So there's a lot of costs that go into this, but we pay our way, and I think that's comes back to where the respect comes from, and that we're respectful to our city, but sometimes things come up that we push back on because we're going to fight for us, and we're going to fight for what we feel is right. I know there's a lot of changes in a lot of the cities with permit applications and things like that, and they all seem to be for the same reason, which we understand. But yeah, the city is imperative to work with and be on good terms with, and whatever they need from us to help, we do too.
That's great. And I know we have some people on the call that actually work for cities or work with cities, so it's great information on how you do it, for example, with all of your different events. So I don't have any other questions that have come in. Is there anything that you want to say to kind of wrap it up before we let everyone go for the day?
No, I think just, the takeaway, I hope, is to really, one of the things I wanted to touch on, there is one thing. The event industry, when a lot of the students that are coming in, I don't ever hear, my first question is, what do you want to do? What do you see yourself doing? And one of the things that I really want to talk about for just a second is nonprofits. I don't think that the event industry thinks so much about the nonprofit world and what that brings to the table and how many event organizers are working for nonprofits, because the nonprofits, whatever their core mission is for the services that they provide, funding is a big part of the back end of that. So it's not all with grants, and it's not all with public dollars if they're subsidized. They all do events. Every single one of them does events. Some do a monthly event, some do quarterly, annually, but all of them do events. So when you're looking, really think about that as well, because at the end of the day, you've got not only a great cause, but there's heartstrings attached to that. There's feel-good attached to that. So look around. Maybe there's something that is near and dear to your heart that you'd never even thought of, but an organization that could be life-changing or has been life-changing to you or a family member or someone that you know, and they all do such amazing stuff that events, that's my mantra these days, and trying to help the nonprofits with interns and understanding that they don't need a full-time intern, that they're still eligible to work with interns. So trying to change the myth or the thought process with the event industry to think nonprofit as well as any of these other big events and musical festivals and things like that. It's a great way to start out.
That's great. And a lot of people don't realize that even some of the really huge events that are around and have been around for a long time actually are nonprofits. So
right.
Thank you for that input. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening in today. For those of you that are listening live and those that are listening in the future, we appreciate it. And I will look forward to receiving everyone's feedback so we can improve for future ones. And thank you, Dawn, so much for your time and sharing your advice and your talent with us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Suzanne. FFEA rocks.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.